All right. Thank you so much, everybody, for being right there. I'm happy today to be once again with my friend Jim McCarty. Jim, as a quick recap, Jim was part of or is part of a team, but was during the 80s of a team who were in contact with this social memory complex or entity called Ra, from which they received or extracted even lots of information through question and answers through a channeler. And the interesting aspect for me of this information is how it seems spiritual, but it's also scientific. So it's very precise, mm, very interesting. So Jim is going to be with us today, and from our last conversation, which was some time ago, right? I've had a few questions come up. I'm more like looking into time recently, right now. So I don't know. Let's just see wherever this goes. How are you, Jim?
I'm doing well, and I'm glad to be on your podcast again. I'm looking forward to your questions.
Very good. I'm really happy that you're here. It's really nice for me. Just yesterday, I was recording another podcast with another Jim called Jim Willis. He's an ancient civilization researcher and a few other things. But I was talking to him, and he's probably, I don't know, I think he said he's 70, 75, he's in his 70s. So I was thinking how important it is for for us, the younger or newer generations, to be reaching out to people like yourself and like Jim Willis, who I respectfully call the elders, you know, um, for real, because you guys have had such a powerful experience of a lifetime, not just you who have had a very exceptional one even, but all of you guys went through all this technological evolution, which for me it's interesting also where I was born in time, because I've also experienced a great technological evolution. But you guys were there 30 or 40 years even before I was born, and my generation were born. So you have like two lifetimes in comparison to us of experience, you know, of all this human change. And I think it's so important that we are reaching out to people like yourself, and that I am reaching out to people like yourself to see what kind of information I can get also, and we can get as a moving forward, during such crazy times and during such important times.
Yeah, well, I'm glad to help whoever I can.
Yeah, because for sure you have experienced things. There's a whole part of life that I haven't gone through yet, which you already have, and so there's so much experience there also. Um, uh, because sometimes maybe we fall uh, into thinking, okay, so this is a person from the raw channelings, so let's just ask about the raw channelings. But there's also, I'm sure, a vast uh, experience that you could share with us, and that you definitely do share with us each time we speak. Um, and so yeah, just kind of a thought on how important we each of us is as a unique expression of the one infinite creator, as Ra puts it.
Well, that's true. Ross says that each of us is quite unique. We travel the same kind of a spiritual journey, but we each do it in our own way.
Hmm.
And there are just kind of general experiences we share, but everyone has his or her own particular way of looking at the universe about them and of developing their own spiritual path and trying to figure out how they can be of service to others and what it would take for them to grow into their own life potential. And I think that's what we do the whole life long. There's no end to it. And even after this life is over, we will again be in another reality, and we will be doing the same thing there, perhaps with a little wider point of view.
Mm.
We don't have such a wide point of view here on Earth at this time. The third density is known for having what they call, what Ra called the veil of forgetting, so that the lessons we learn here are more valuable and carry more weight when we can actually penetrate that veil in some way to reveal a larger point of view, another step on the spiritual path. So each of us has a way of doing that. And it's good to share our stories. Ross said that those seekers of like mind who get together and share their stories are more likely to find the truth, because we all help each other do it.
Yeah, and um, this thing you were just mentioning, this veil of forgetting. Um, this is such an interesting thing. I remember that it says um, um, that it's a way to accelerate evolution. Actually, this veil of forgetting. So, like from what I remember, Ra describes there not being a veil of forgetting in third density, correct? And then for some reason during the process it being installed or activated, this veil of forgetting, and that this actually helps the evolution of consciousness, or the remembering of God, remembering itself. Do you know how this is connected?
Yes, it's a paradox, actually.
Mm.
Uh, Millions of years ago, at the closer to the center of the universe, where the evolving logoi, or what we would call a sun or a star, were creating their solar systems and their galaxies in the third density. At that time, there was no veil of forgetting. So each entity was aware that it was the creator and that everybody else was the creator. It was a state of having no doubt whatsoever that the universe was one thing, and each person in it was a part of that one thing, which was the one creator. However, the difficulty was that being in the state of bliss, there was reason, there was no reason really to try to go anywhere or do anything or try to grow, because you're the creator.
Right.
Uh,
I was going to ask. These are third density entities, correct?
these
Beings.
are third density
So
entities.
flesh and bone, sort of
They looked
human-ish.
just like us.
Wow.
They had a certain span of life. They had incarnations, and they knew that what they were there to do was to graduate from third density and try to move forward into the fourth density, try to help the creator have experiences of itself, to help it know itself better, which seems to be the reason the creator made the entire creation. And yet they could not do that.
They didn't have a motivation because it
They
felt so
didn't,
good.
yeah, as Ross said, they couldn't benefit from love or fear because they knew they were the creator. So it took many, many times of repeating the third density 75,000 year cycle before they could somehow make it into the fourth density. So various logoi, sun bodies, or what Ra called entities of love that created the creation out of love and light, thought there might be a benefit from taking advantage of a potential which the original primal logos had put into the nature of the creation. And that was to put a veil of forgetting between the conscious and the subconscious mind, to divide it. And in this way, third density entities then no longer had that knowledge that there was total unity, that they were the creator. But in their subconscious mind, there was still this knowledge that we all were one. So there was this knowing subconsciously, and that they would have to use a kind of an intuition to get access to this feeling that maybe we were here to grow spiritually. And this subconscious feeling then, that could be accessed through intuition or maybe through meditation or through dreams. There are various ways that this veil was able to be penetrated in a certain degree, so that entities could begin what we would call the spiritual journey of seeking and growth that would carry a great deal more weight within their total being if they were able to sense this unity, sense that this creation was made out of love and photons vibrated and light and made the material world around them, that each had a relationship to each other, that if they could choose to be of service to each other, then that choice would be the power that would propel them forward into their process of evolution. So it took a lot less time, usually, after the veil of forgetting was implemented and people began to penetrate it in some fashion and begin a spiritual journey and make this choice, that they could do it within the 75,000 years. In fact, there was, after that point, a certain amount of people who made it after the first 25,000 year major cycle. And after the second 25,000 year major cycle, even more were able to do it. And then at the end of the master cycle of 75,000 years, many times the entire planet was able to graduate into the fourth density of love and understanding. Usually, though, the graduation rate was much less than that. That's the ideal rate. That's the rate that is possible and has been achieved. But there were those great many that were able to do that. So that's why the veil of forgetting is so helpful, because you have to exercise more effort and more consciousness and more desire and polarize your consciousness in service to others in order to make that graduation. But it was exactly what was needed to speed the process.
So these many things come to mind from what you just said. But let's say these entities that graduate, that reach um, what's known as a harvest after, for example, 25,000 years. These are souls, we would say, that no longer come back to. So, I mean, each of those souls, in a way, we could say is replaced by another, or gives space for a new soul to come to Earth, in this case, uh, to experience this other its own journey of the spiritual journey, correct? They
Yes. The soul exists on the other side of the veil. The soul exists in what we would call the inner planes or the metaphysical realms or time space. And
uh,
then the soul projects a personality into the third density illusion
mhm.
through the veil, and the soul beforehand, along with personality, they make pre-incarnated choices. They will hopefully be fulfilled within the third density illusion to learn in certain ways, to move through what we call the chakras or the energy centers, and eventually make it through the red one, the orange, the yellow, and into the heart. It's necessary to get into the heart within the third density in order to graduate into the fourth density. So the personality that comes into the third density has all these pre-incarnated choices that are also known to the unconscious mind. So the unconscious mind has a way of helping the personality within the third density to look at its experience through a certain lens. And that lens is formed or colored by those pre-incarnated choices, so that if your desire is really to be of service to others and open the heart, then that's basically the way you will look at the creation around you. Usually you have to start a little lower down and make it through the red, which has to do with survival and sexuality and reproduction, and then go to the orange, which has to do with your individual eccentricities or your personality, how you express yourself on a one-to-one basis with other people, maybe with your parents, so your friends, your teachers. And then you go to the yellow, which is the group consciousness. Your all of these entities put their orange individual natures together and form groups in schools or workplaces or in homes, the neighborhood, the sports team, whatever. And so once you go through those, then you begin to expand even further to look around you and see if the universe around you has more to offer, which it does. The open heart, if the people can get into the open heart, then it is possible to make that graduation if you can be of service to others more than 51% of the time in that choice that you make. So it's a progression that goes through the lower energy centers. It's done through pre-incarnated choices. And usually it takes a number of incarnations to be able to activate each energy center and then make it into the heart, and the graduation eventually into the fourth density of love and understanding.
Oh, thank you, Jim. That was a very complete description. I love to get those those packed things with such great depth. So I was asking this thing about the soul and another one coming in, etc. Because I was thinking, so yeah, there we go. We have the reincarnations of a particular soul until it learns this third density lesson, and then a space is we could say opened, or I mean, it's not that it's not available before, but so a new soul comes. My question was I'm getting into a loop of describing it, but my question was coming from this idea of have have our souls, for example me or you and I, have our souls been here during that time of the 25,000 fast cycles, uh, or what generation are we in this school?
Well, the sources of souls that come to Earth are many. Earth seems to be a unique situation. Other third density planets have had problems with their graduation and have not been able to graduate the souls there. So when a soul is not able to graduate after 75,000 years, whatever planet it was on, then it chooses another third density planet to go to try to repeat the third density and make the graduation in that repetition. And apparently on Earth, many of our 8 billion souls are in that situation. They've been on other third density planets. They've failed to make the graduation there, and they've chosen Earth to come to. Now, back during the raw contact in the early 80s, there were 4 billion people on Earth. Now there's twice that many people, and many, many have come here to be of service to others, to try to be of service and make the graduation. Now, because so many have had a problem making it, there is another type of entity that comes to Earth that Ra called a wanderer, which is from a higher density, already having made the graduation to the fourth, and maybe from the fifth, and maybe from the sixth. In fact, Ra said most of the wanderers on Earth, and way back in the early 80s, there were 60 million. And now in our recent channelings, it has been suggested there's a 600 or 700 million. And most are from the sixth density, because it takes a great deal of what Ra called bravery or foolhardiness to come to this planet to try to help out, because wanderers also go through the veil of forgetting and have the challenge of remembering their mission. And many wanderers are able to remember it, and some have not been able to remember it, so that they come to be of service in many ways. Just being here lightens the planetary vibration, just their very presence. And then each wanderer has various skills that they use to teach or to heal or to be an example of maybe community organizers, to bring people together for spiritual or social purposes. So that the wanderer is another type of entity that comes here. Now, there is a third type of entity. There are some entities that Ross said have dual activated bodies, both their third and fourth density bodies. The yellow and the green are activated. These are entities that have already made the graduation on another planet. And this planet Earth will eventually be their home planet when it is totally fourth density. And they've come here early to help with the graduation. They see all of the turmoil, the anger, the disillusionment, the separation. And this looks to them as a great opportunity to be of service because there is so much disharmony. So these with dual activated bodies are a third type of entity that comes to Earth. So there is a variety of entities on Earth that continue to populate the planet so that we have more and more entities that are hoping to make the graduation into the fourth density of love and understanding.
That is so interesting. So these last two sound so much like first maybe like bodhisattvas, the first one, and the other one I was thinking kind of avatars or something like that. So some Vishnus or some Krishnas coming here and and doing some mischief to help us move ahead. But what was the first type of entity? Let me remind me, please.
Well, the first type is, well, actually, there's a fourth type. The first type I mentioned to you
Mhm.
was entities who have not made the graduation on other third density planets.
Right.
And they come here to repeat the cycle. Now, there is another one that I didn't mention, and that is an entity on this planet that has gone through the first density, the second density, and the third density on this planet. So there are some of those entities here as well. They are seeking to make their first graduation right here on planet Earth. So that would make four different types of entities.
So this last one, they they haven't graduated somewhere else, and they haven't failed the course somewhere else,
Right,
and they haven't chosen to come help move this graduation, but they are like that would be the real Earthlings, maybe
right.
we could say.
The
Wow,
original population of Earth.
wow. All of this is so incredible and so interesting uh, because it's very far out, but at the same time, it kind of answers certain questions and and brings very interesting other questions up, and even questions of self mastery and self exploration. Uh, and I don't know why I recently there's through other people in my community and people that I listen to, the subject of time has been coming up very much recently, and how during these recent times we are and current times that actually that we are living, how time is very weird, especially this year. I don't know if you've had this similar experience of time being extremely different this year than it's been like accumulating through the decades and through the years. And I remember being in high school and thinking each year it felt like faster, and everything started happening. I don't know. They can give you this rationalization of no, because when you were small, it 1 year was 100%, but then it's smaller, so it looks faster. I don't know, but apart from that geometric or mathematical aspect of time speeding up, of the perception in that case, there seems to be something intrinsic to time that is speeding up and also becoming weirder with that speeding up. So things that some years ago might have been very fringe have suddenly come closer to the mainstream. Wait, uh, or not that the idea is for those things to get into the mainstream. I don't know if that would be the best thing. Perhaps it would. I don't know. Um, but with time has been speeding up and becoming weird, and there is such an important, I don't know if important is the word, but there seems to be such a deep uh, comprehension or explanation of time in the material you guys channeled in the raw channelings, and also perhaps with Quo. Um, what what do they say about the period we're going through now in relationship to time? And I mean, in trying to understand these two concepts of time space that you mentioned earlier and space time. So the understanding I have right now is that one is the metaphysical world, the other is the physical world we're living in right now. So in that metaphysical world of time space, do you think that is where the other octaves are located, or what? I'm kind of all over the place with the thing of time.
Well, I think that the concept that you're dealing with is probably how the fourth density vibrations, which have been streaming to Earth now for the last 70 years, have affected people's perception of time. Um, these vibrations are meant to give people who are on their spiritual paths more energy, you might say, to work with, so that they have the ability to make their choices of service to others more rapidly, um, with more conviction, with more dedication and desire to be of service to others, to try to compact more of their experience into a shorter period of what we might call time. Many people, however, that are not consciously on a spiritual journey, when faced with these vibrations of the fourth density, begin to retreat into themselves so that they are not likely to go forward into the green ray, but go backward into the orange ray of self, and look at what they can do to survive these turbulent times on a more individual level, more self-centered, you might say. And there, as Ross said, it's also more difficult for such people to face their true selves at this time if they're not conscious seekers of truth. So what seems to happen is that there becomes more of a disparity or a division between entities on earth, those that are on a spiritual path and can see the necessity for opening their hearts in love and acceptance and compassion to everyone else, whereas many others who are not on the spiritual journey consciously feel that they need to protect themselves from the dangers and disasters that are the pandemic, people's different points of view, one country against another country, or one uh, segment of society against another segment of society, or one race of society against another race. It's more of the us against them rather than all of us together facing what is occurring, which is a speeding up of the vibrations on our planet. And we are being engulfed with these fourth density vibrations that can be food for the spiritual soul, or can be seen as difficulties for the unconscious soul. So I think that's part of what you're talking about, of the weirdness of things around, the
So
disparate or different points of view that are so radically separated one from another. And then the spiritual point of view that sees all of this together as an opportunity to work together, to use all of this, what Ra called catalyst. All difficulties and different points of view can be reconciled through conscious efforts at communication and opening our hearts in love and acceptance to others. So this is what we face now, is a great opportunity to use a great deal of the catalyst or the turmoil that surrounds us, to resolve it by conscious means, or uh, to run away from it and try to protect ourselves from it if we are not conscious of the spiritual path.
and these fourth density vibrations. So this becoming weird that's happening to time. I understand. Then it's connected to these fourth density vibrations coming in. So this seems like a kind of like a bleed through from the density that we're moving towards. It's kind of the gradient, right, between third and fourth,
Right,
perhaps.
right. We're
Uh,
starting to experience more of the effects of the fourth density now, but there are so many of our people on the planet that are still uh,
mm,
embedded in
not
the
really.
yellow and the orange energy center. that they are not being able to take advantage of this speeding up of time and greater opportunity to grow.
Mm. So it feels kind of like first I thought this is like, okay, so it's part of the course if looking at Earth or at existence as a school. So this is part of the course, and then also it's kind of the test or one of the tests. So the test is not like one day you come sit down and you have the test, but it's more like a gradient between the third year and the fourth year, or the third density in this case, and the fourth density. And some people are starting to take, or we're all starting to take the test because it's bleeding through from the future, and some people are haven't done enough studying or enough experiencing to pass this test and keep their minds sort of intact and sane, but they're kind of in this natural process, they are kind of being left behind, some or they are pressed to peer into the mystery. Perhaps some people might be awakened by positively, by this coming in, because some of us have been doing this kind of test or this process of this gradient for other lifetimes, perhaps, or maybe it's just during this lifetime, but we've been doing it for some decades, and some people might just start to awaken during this more. We seem to be kind of, well, I don't know, in time, how long are we from a transition that has us on the other side of that fourth density? Perhaps it's many thousands of years. I don't know.
Well, Ross suggested that it's probably going to take anywhere from 100 to 700 years to make the full transition. And the reason they can't be more precise is because the population of the planet is so volatile. It's so ready to explode in one direction or another. And like I said, there's so many that are still stuck in the orange and the yellow rays. So that this actually started about 1935, Ross said, about 70 some years uh, ago. So it's really hard to say how long it'll take. They did say that there was one possibility, a wild card possibility, that if could our planet polarize consciously in service to others in one fine, strong moment of inspiration? Yes, it is ever possible. Not probable, but it is ever possible that the whole planet at one point could say, the population could say, okay, I finally get it. All of these catastrophes, all this separation, all this anger, this confusion, this disillusionment, there is a greater reality. Let's go there. You know?
So we could
Now,
be we could
yeah,
be 25 years away,
we could be.
probably.
We could be.
Wow.
But all we can do is just keep doing our best as spiritual seekers of truth to open our hearts and take advantage of every opportunity that comes our way to be of service to others. And we've programmed all of this into our incarnations so that all we have to do is just look around ourselves to see how to be of service to others, and things will come to us.
Um, and the second question was, so when I said the 25 years, I had another question that's, let me see if I can bring it back, because it was very much connected to what you were saying. Mm, so we have maybe 25 years. No, I'm not getting it, but this is so exciting, to be, because before I was thinking maybe it could be hundreds of thousands, but it seems to be kind of something relatively doable in a few reincarnations at least. I mean, um, we're living 100 years or 80 years, whatever, 90 years. Uh, yeah, it's totally doable very soon. Oh yeah, here's the question, and it's absolutely obvious, but what do we need? What is the necessary requirements, or what would the picture look like, uh, if we are lucky in 25 years, or if we are a little bit slower in a few more years, what does the general picture look like, which means that we are in fourth density of like officially?
Well, the basic requirement is that if you look at all your thoughts, your words, and your deeds, that your intentions behind them need to be of service to others 51% of the time, just 51%. That's the minimum graduation rate. So that doesn't seem like it would be too hard, but you have to realize that people need to know that service to others is what they really ought to be aiming for. And so many people don't know that. That's why that spiritual groups are so valuable to present this possibility to the larger population that does not have a real good grasp on what the reason they're here, what's the purpose of their lives. Many religions have various aspects of the law of one in them. And as Ross said, the pure seeker of truth can find a way to the fourth density through any religion. But so many are just mouthing the concepts and pretending to understand and hoping that they're on the right track and not really grasping the necessity for truly opening their hearts and getting to the heart of their religion and sharing it with everyone around them. And
Fake it till you make it.
yeah, fake it till you make it. Good one.
Like maybe they're at that stage in their
Yeah,
evolution as communities or structures.
yeah. But Rod did also say that all of the entities that are here on the planet are here by what they call the seniority of vibration. And that means that only the entities who do have a chance to make it into the fourth density within this incarnation are here now. There are many more entities that would like to be here, but they still have too far to go. They, on the level of seniority by vibration, they're not high enough to make it. Likened it into a glass full of various types of liquids. Some rise to the top and some sink to the bottom, so that you actually choose yourself by your vibration that you've achieved in other lifetimes as to whether or not you could incarnate again in this lifetime to be here now to try to make the harvest. So every one of the 8 billion souls on earth is here by seniority vibration. Each one has a chance to make it to the fourth density if they can just become conscious seekers and know why they're here and begin to polarize their consciousness. Just like a car battery, you have to have a polarity, a difference of positive and negative pole for the battery to start the car. So the same in your consciousness. You have to have this polarity of service to others that has moved you forward away from the neutral so that you can start your engine, you can start your consciousness and move forward in service to others and make that graduation into the fourth density.
Hmm. And what does how is reality different from the perspective of a person incarnating in fourth density to somebody to someone like us?
Well, we asked Rob that question, and they
Uh-huh.
said that it was very difficult to use our language
Mm.
to try to describe it accurately because we don't have words for what so much of the reality would be like. But they said they could tell us some things about it. And what they said was that there is no way to create disharmony within the fourth density, that all has been reconciled, that entities are unique and they are each acceptable in the range of their uniqueness, that the fourth density is one where words are not used unless they're chosen. So that the way we communicate is through telepathy. And it's not just a word by word, but we could use concepts. That an entire concept, like they say, a picture's worth 1,000 words. We can transmit pictures and concepts in the fourth density. that the fourth density is very aware of the sorrows of third density and is very desirous of being of service in the way of helping other third density entities make the fourth density. In the fourth density, we will operate not as individuals, although we can do that. We're still individualized, but we will form what's called a social memory complex. So everybody that makes it into the fourth density will have all of the experiences in every incarnation to offer as a resource for the social memory complex itself to be of service to others. It'll be a huge library of information so that the way you progress in the higher densities, beginning with the fourth, is to reach your hand back figuratively in service to others. So you continue polarizing your consciousness and you do it as a social memory complex so that when there is difficulty as there is now on earth, you hear this difficulty as a call for being of service to others. And so that's how we operate on the fourth density as a social memory complex. And what we on earth call the Akashic records is the beginning of that social memory complex. And all of us that make the graduation in the fourth density will add to that Akashic records all of our experiences and use them as ways of being of service to others. So that Ross said that was about all they could say with any hope for accuracy because our language just doesn't have enough ways of presenting those concepts. We don't have words for it.
So I have a question from that. Uh, some of these entities or types of entities you mentioned, I remember one of them. One of them was entities with the third and fourth bodies activated, who chose to come back. And now you're speaking of the way to continue polarizing in fourth density is to reach back and help. So some of those entities, might they be again like ourselves from the future, like our fourth density selves are here in the planet doing their fourth density service to others by incarnating with their two body with up to the fourth ray activated. Is that something that makes sense?
Well, that's a possibility, but it's only what is occurring for those entities who have come from other planets and are here early to make the graduation, to help people make the graduation. Now, Ra didn't say it specifically, but you bring it up, and I'm thinking that it should be just as possible for somebody from this planet who has just made the graduation to come back just like that with a dual activated body. But it's not anywhere in the raw contact where it says that, but I think it's a very great possibility.
I like how the material that you share, how it gives us new ways of thinking about time again, because there's this idea of time being linear, then time is no, it's a circle, no, it's a spiral, it's cyclical, it comes back, it goes forth, it goes both ways at the same time, whatever, everything is happening at the same time, so there's only the now. So this
Right.
could be kind of marrying all those concepts, how something that perhaps is in our in our perspective it's in the future. Once it does happen, if we are able to access this retro thing, this going back, then we can be here in our present having come from our future. I mean, those things start making sense in this whole concept or context of the graduation of the evolution of consciousness going in these directions, in its opening fractally like a flower and going in the direction of, well, now you can, with your new evolution, you can go to the past and change things. That's pretty powerful, and we are actually starting to use them as sort of techniques to heal our own psyche, to heal our own childhood and childhood trauma. It's becoming more mainstream, and people are becoming more aware of of working with time and our perception of it in that way, to go back into the sub, because again, the veil of forgetting, I love that you reminded me, it's a veil between the conscious and the subconscious mind. It's not something very esoteric like, oh, the veil of forgetting, but it's a very inner thing, a very personal thing. So
Right.
it's the separation between my individual and my Atman, or something like that. Could we say it's something similar?
Right. Each of us has various ways of penetrating that veil to a certain degree, and I mentioned them earlier, uh, through meditation or dreams, through hypnosis. We can, according to very likely our pre-incarnated choices, begin to access more of our true natures on the other side of the veil and begin to realize that ability here in this incarnation so that we take advantage of what we call time, the past, the present, and the future, which Ross suggested only exists here in the third density. Once we are either in our dream state or the meditative state or hypnotized, say, or in the fourth density, we are in more likely what would be called the eternal present, where everything is happening at once and we can take part in it in whatever way we choose. And we can actually bilocate, we can be in more places than one, partaking in the creation around us in ways that are very powerful and perceptive, ways of expressing more of the creator within our own life patterns. So all of this is a part of each person's potential reality. We can access this by the will to do so, the faith that such is possible, and to keep our attention focused on our spiritual path so that we begin to feel more and more of the Creator's presence within our being as we meditate and as we express ourselves in the world around us in the space time nature. We begin to share more of our open hearts. We begin to see the face of the Creator on each person around us, that people do not look like they're separate from each other. They look like they are the Creator, and they look like they are our other selves, as Ra called it. They said that each of us is each other's other self. We are truly one. And when we can begin to see more of that as a reality in our life patterns, then we begin to join our own vibrations with others in spiritual practices that help the entire planet itself to progress and the population to progress into the fourth density. We do become more of the masters or the Atman or however you want to call it. We realize more of our potential. Everyone has that potential, and we can consciously expand it through exercising the will and faith.
Hmm. I love this. Thank you so much, Jim. It also brings to mind, so in this thing of going back and changing stuff, uh, the pre-incarnative decisions that you mentioned, those pre-incarnative decisions, we could actually choose right now what they were. You know, we could through our actions and through how we express in the world, we actually create our past. So we create those pre-incarnate decisions that will unfold. We can choose them every moment, and that is very empowering and very powerful. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I had this knowing of destiny. It was like, oh, so is it destiny? Is it free will? And I had this knowing that it was both things at the same time, that that happened together somehow. But I was just a 5-year-old, so I didn't understand how. But I knew it was this way. So that's one of those points of the law of one that that touches my heart so much, because it goes at things that I've always kind of known or intuited somehow. So I'm really happy once again to have had Jim McCarty here. This was wonderful, really. Every time you come here, you help me um, have a place where I can ask all these nerdy questions that I call them, uh, and to actually exhaust them and take them out of my system, and then I can have more space for more practice and more presence rather than just mind and thinking all these things. But they're very interesting to think. I believe they nurture that other side of us, that spiritual side.
Well, I appreciate your questions. I don't think they're nerdy at all. They're very perceptive, and I really enjoy responding to the best of my ability to them. I appreciate the opportunity to do so.
Yes, thank you so much, Jim. Would you like, please, share with the audience your website or where they can find you?
Our website, by the way, is going to become brand new next month, so it'll still be the same www.llresearch.org, but that is going to be a whole new website with a lot of uh, information on it. It's going to be very easy to access. All of our information, by the way, is available for free through PDF downloads. Or if you like to order a book, there's a charge for the books, but you can get everything for free at that site. And we are happy to be of service to anybody who has questions. Gary and Austin and I are always glad to write emails back and reply to people's questions. So if you want to give a question to LL Research, you can send it into contact@llresearch.org.
That is wonderful. And LL stands for love and light, correct?
Yeah, right.
Very good. So, okay, once again, thank you so much. Thank you to our audience for being there, for joining us in this beautiful exploration into the everything, but at the same into the self. So please like, share, comment, subscribe, etc., the video, and check out our other interviews or conversations with Jim. They are very insightful and awe-inspiring and thought-inspiring. So thank you so much. Namaste and bye bye.
Namaste. Love you all.